You're listening to From a Certain Point of Skew, the only Star Wars podcast that exclusively covers all of the skeleton crew. Just us, no one else. You're welcome.
I think that's a lie.
Well, I'm not on the internet, so to me it's real.
Okay.
I'm Jason the Angry Ginger Jedi guy, stuck in my basement. We call it Wookiee Poo Studios. I'm not alone. On the Skype lines is the co-host, but really the host, the guy who does all the shit behind the scenes. You love him. You never hate him. Darth Matthews.
I'm a little bit like the supervisor.
You're a lot like the supervisor. Yeah. Hey, how's that new podcast of yours going?
It's going pretty well.
Yeah.
A lot of traction so far.
Wow.
It's going. Yeah, it's really good. No.
Well, I'm glad you came back for this one.
I'll be honest. I'm a little melancholic. Is that how you say that? Today, because we are at the end of another series or at least another season, and now we go into the abyss of new Star Wars content. I mean, nothing that just doesn't just drop on us until at least Celebration, when we'll get a little bit more information. And that leads right into Andor. Yep. But we're in this little window again.
We're as blue as Neil's skin now.
There you go. But, it gives us time to regroup, catch up, do some other things. So it'll be fun. But yeah, it is sad to see
I started writing.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Well, I forgot about that. We do have Star Wars Podcast Day coming up.
Mm-hmm.
If you would like to find our show from a certain point of skew.com, go find us on Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky, at FACPAPod. Email us. Got a couple emails this week, FACPAPod@gmail, and voicemail 678-FACPA77. That's in the show notes, Dan.
Yeah, Wookiee guy. What's his name?
Chewbubba. Another reminder that, yes, Star Wars Podcast Day coming up February 7th. We are trying to pull together at least a handful of stories that we write. We write. You write most of them.
You're working on one, though.
I'm trying. I haven't got very far.
Okay.
I'm working on it. It's going to be a real short story. But we've had some people send in some stories in the past. It's really wide open. For anybody who's ever read those, like From a Certain Point of View books, it's kind of in that realm.
Yeah.
Just kind of telling one-off stories, either fake characters or fleshing out some side story of a character that we know. Right. And having some fun with it. So if you have something you want to write, it'd be great to get that from you. So just send it to us on Gmail. Reach out to us on Twitter if you need help kind of pulling it all together, because we're happy to help you do that. And the earlier, the better. If we can get everything kind of in the next 2 to 3 weeks, that would be ideal.
And if you're running behind, I would say, do we usually do one? We usually do one for either Celebration or in May as well. May the 4th is
one for May the 4th.
Our first one, right?
Yeah. So we'll probably do the same.
Yeah, so if you just can't make it, your story's not ready yet, keep writing, do your thing, send it to us, and we'll carry it over to the next one.
Or like I think we said last week, write a short, chapter 1 for this one and write a chapter 2 for the other one. You could split the story in 2 if you'd like. That'd be great.
Don't leave us hanging. You have to write the second chapter.
No, and something I keep forgetting, you got to write the second chapter. Something I keep forgetting to mention also is, hey, you want to write a review? You get entries in our giveaway, so write some fucking reviews. We could use some new ones.
Oh, yeah, we're wrapping up with that. We doing a giveaway next week?
We'll do it when we do the look back, which I think will be 2 episodes from now.
Okay.
So you got a little time.
Got time.
Yeah.
Send in that review. And hey, put the voicemail number in your phone, in your contacts. FACPA 1678 FACPA 77.
Yeah, and then if your wife or girlfriend or husband or boyfriend finds it in your phone, who the fuck is this?
Right.
Then you got some explaining to do.
Yeah. And have them call us with that angry, who is this? We want to hear that.
That would be great. Who the fuck are you guys? Yeah. I'm coming to get you.
There's no way this is some Star Wars nerd. Who is this? I'll start sending back just AI naked pics of someone. Maybe that chick that's got goo on her face that's walking down England right now.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Don't give her any more pub than she needs.
She's not on the show today, but what we have on the show today is we've got coming up question of the week, Jod shopping spree. In the news, we've got Star Wars animation update, Ahsoka, season 2 flashbacks, and the Mandalorian and Grogu plot details. We've got them. You need them. Skeleton Crew episode 8, The Real Good Guys, is what we'll be discussing. And like Matt said, 2 emails in the Maul Bag and 1 voicemail on the FACPA Answering Machine.
So question of the week, this was yours. What's the first thing Jod is going to buy with all those credits?
Yeah.
Now, check out these first 2. They're totally unrelated accounts as far as I could tell. The first one is Big T and Little T Podcast says, a new ship and helmet. And then Andrew Haley says, a new ship and helmet. And then a third, Brown Leader from Hyperspace Hero says, a new pirate helmet. Everybody's on the same page here.
Everyone wants them to have that Silvo helmet.
Right. Alberto from Radio Rebellion says noise-canceling headphones to block out children's incessant jabber jabber. See, he gets it.
That's what that helmet's for.
Yeah, right. You can just block it all out. It's what is that called? A sensory deprivation helmet.
Yeah, it's like in everyone's favorite Star Wars show, The Acolyte.
That's right.
Where the stranger, right, puts it on gives himself a stranger.
And then she does. And then she puts it on with that,
yeah, she hears
kind of horror type. Let's see. Next is Brian Fennessy says, definitely not a conscience.
No, those don't come with money.
My favorite answer, nude gun ray, hair plugs.
Someone posted a picture earlier, and it was Jude Law with a hairline, and then someone under it was, why the fuck didn't they do this for this show? And I'm like, really? That's turning you away?
Bothering you that much?
The dude's so handsome, right? From what I hear, he's a handsome fella, and they're worried about this?
That's funny. That's funny. I'm gonna give Nude Gun Ray 2 entries for that one. That was good. Brown Leader again says a memorial glowweed garden for Glurb.
Oh, nice.
Rest in peace. That's nice. That's very nice. Glurb. Max Rebo says 2 front row tickets with backstage passes and VIP experience to the Max Rebo Band Galactic Tour.
Wow, they're on tour again?
I don't know if you want to be backstage with that lot. I don't know.
No, I think there's a lot of danger back there.
I think there are, or is. Ubaldo Torres says finally pay the extended warranty to all ships, vehicles, etc. Is he talking about the port what's it called, Port Borgo damage that he did, or just in general?
That's a good question.
I don't think those ships were insured. Let's just say that, to be clear. Those pirates aren't paying, they're not that.
Yeah, I know those are stolen ships.
I think so.
Right? And that's how a pirate rolls.
Yeah, they're rolling the dice. They're not gonna, Sar Bear says subscription to a masterclass on how to wield a lightsaber. Well, he is certainly unorthodox. And we'll find out why when we go through the recap. Brown Leader again. An amendment to the pirate code making him Pirate King. I mean, why not? So many damn rules in there already.
Yeah.
Why not add another one? Does somebody keep that copy of that? Who's got the pirate codes written down?
It's got to be out there somewhere. Someone get a hold of Hidalgo.
There you go. It's posted on some old school bulletin board system, like back in the 80s.
It's written, or someone's written it since.
I would imagine. Adelphi Ranger says he's definitely buying an X-Wing. He knows it has the perfect combination of offensive and defensive capabilities. Adelphi Rangers must have been happy to see that crew flying at the end of this episode.
Oh, my God. I bet you he just blew his load all over that chick. What? God, I can't leave it alone.
Keep coming back
No one knows what we're talking about. It was pre-show. I don't know if we've heard from Brian Hour yet. Is he on here? But that man knows his Star Wars, and he can get back to us. Because I think he played all of the old role-playing games.
He did.
And there's got to be a pirate's code or something in one of those books, right? Like the DM's manual. Like there's got to be a pirate's manual.
Let us know, Brian, if you got that information. He is one of those people that we still wonder why he listens to our show.
I know, he's an encyclopedia. Well, he enjoys, good humor, and that's where we come from.
Yeah, that's right. We take a little edge off.
Right.
Another name says, what does Star Wars mean to you, podcast? I think, though, at this point, does Jod have more passports than Jason Bourne? I mean, how many fucking identities does this guy have? Right.
He's the, of course, now I'm podcasting, his name escapes me, the Dread Pirate Roberts.
Yes, we did. We talked about that, I think.
Yeah, he really is, though. Like, he's just he's a myth. He's got names. Everyone knows every one of them, though.
He seems to, Jod Nanawood seems to be the core one, though. That seems to be like his first.
That's how he announced himself. So he's sticking to that one. Or maybe that one's just not in trouble yet, like with the law.
It's the safest
He's
name.
not moved on yet to the next one.
Right. Brown Leader again. Jesus Christ, Brown Leader. It's impressive.
Wow.
Podcast equipment to start a pirate radio station. He'll play all the different DJs. The most popular will be the late night guy, Pegleg Pete. Yeah. He'll rant about the need to stay single, what a burden kids are, and conspiracy theories about hidden treasures and lost planets in. I leave that ...
I think we need to do a whole episode in this vein.
Do like a radio show? Yeah. As him, as Jod, or as all those different characters?
Or
just all just pirate-wise?
As Pegleg Pete on a pirate ship.
Okay. There's a concept we can roll with.
Yep.
Certainly, I would think that his pirate radio show would get sponsorships from Me Robies and Contracepticeth. I would imagine.
Yes. They're big on the Star Wars circuit. I can't believe no one's reached out and said, hey, let us play those commercials on our Star Wars podcast.
I know. They're good ones. I mean, and I was using them a lot, and then I feel like we played them a lot, so then I kind of stopped, but we'll have to incorporate them again back into our stories.
I've got some more. They were written and we recorded a few. I don't think I ever sent you new ones. So I've got some in the library I'll send to you.
Break them out for Star Wars Podcast Day.
All right.
Couple more. I am Anakin's father says he has been hungry all his life. Obviously, a good steak dinner. Would that be a crate steak?
Definitely a crate steak.
You think he's ever had a crate steak? You think he's been to Tatooine?
I mean, if he hasn't, he's the only character in all of Star Wars that hasn't been.
There's kids, the people of At-Atten, and John. Those are the only people that have been.
I mean, he's the kind of character that should belong there, though, right? He's got to at least have traveled through there.
I would think so. A little hot with he likes to wear that jacket to be a little hot, but otherwise, yeah.
That's true. I mean, he's more pirate than scoundrel, but I could see him, one of those characters have been through there once or twice.
I mean, he's had dealings with everybody and anybody in that cantina.
Right. I mean, there isn't a person that they've run into that doesn't know one of his personalities. So it's good chance he's been there.
Notorious, that one.
Yes.
Brian Hour, here he is. He'll be heading to the club from Andor, Mr. High Roller.
Oh, yeah.
And there he sent a picture of that club. I forgot about the club. I can't wait to rewatch Andor, which is going to come soon. We should talk about that too. I thought about, do we want to do like a long build up or do we just do the one preview episode? I think we're just going to do the one preview episode, but I was thinking, God, you could break it into arcs and do like a 4 different episode build up to the second season of Mando.
Why not? We've got some weeks to kill. I'm good to go.
We'll kick it around because I think we were also going to have Albert from the Cantina Cast come on to help us with some of that stuff too. So
okay,
I'll see what his schedule looks like. And that's it. Thank you for all your questions of the week answers. You all get entries. If you're Brown Leader, you get 3 entries. If you're Nude Gunray, you get 2 for the hair plugs comment.
Good job, Nude Gunray.
To news. Your boy Daniel Richtman is back with more rumors this week. He shared that Lucasfilm is currently developing 2 new animated series for Disney Plus, and that's really all that was said. It didn't get into any other speculation about what it is.
Yeah,
just there's 2.
I've seen other people pull on this, and then they've made speculations, but no one really has an idea for what they could be. Like we talked about this a while ago. I don't remember who it was that had. Maybe it was Snyder, somebody, one of those scoopers. Was it about a year ago or so? That were saying their inside was like there's a lot of stuff being worked on that nobody knows about. Mm-hmm. So it's not surprising that they've got 2. These are probably 2 that are probably far enough along where people are working on things.
Well, and there was something that we shared a while back. I mean, this may have been a few months ago, where there was a posting for some positions.
Yeah, that's right.
Handling animation. So this has been in the works for a while. Mm-hmm. 2 series is interesting. I mean, we know we're going to get season 3 of Visions, which is just a little one-off.
Right.
We think we might get another Tales of series at some point. What are they've done Jedi and they've done Empire. So they haven't done Sith, they haven't done Bounty Hunters, they haven't done Pirates.
Just before it was announced that it was the Empire, there was I think that was the original article, was there was a bunch of Tales of that were being worked on.
Yeah, which I like those series. They're great and I enjoy them for what they are, but it would be nice to have a standing full-blown series where we get to go week by week and see a story versus just these little stories.
I agree.
What do you think we're going to get? Like, if you had to guess on what you think maybe just one of these projects would be, is it Mandoverse? Is it like sequel trilogy timeline? Is it going way back to like High Republic and all that?
I mean, I know they want to stick around in the Skywalker realm of things, but I just can't see them doing like a full series with Luke, Leia, and Han. I don't know how that would work. Mm-hmm. I mean, I would like to see it, but and another thing is the people who watch animated shows for the most part, right? Do they want those people in an animated show, or do they want like the newer characters?
I see what you're saying. Yeah. Because it is kind of a slightly not different audience, but there's 2 little circles there.
Right.
There's crossover where there's people like us who like the live action and the animated, but there's certain people that really get into the animated stuff and kind of poo-poo on a lot of the live action. I think there is a lot of fun stuff you could do given all the books and stuff that came in the post Return of the Jedi era for those 3 characters. You could do a lot of fun stuff.
Well, I agree.
But you're right. I don't know if they want to touch that.
Mm-hmm.
What would be your preference? I
think they go a few years and they pick up with Omega. Like I really liked Bad Batch. I liked where that left off. I don't think they necessarily have to stay in the vein of Bad Batch. Maybe go back more into what the Clone Wars brought, different stories and everything, but I think Omega would be an interesting lead. And what they bring back Asajj Ventress for? Like that was like for a one-off, or was that like, okay, we're alluding to something down the road? It's
a good point. It seems like a setup for something.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you could easily do something with her. And we talked, I think, about this before, is that doing her and Quinlan, that story is something you could absolutely animate.
Yeah. You got to read that book. It's a good book.
I did read it.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Okay.
You
I thought last week you asked me if I read it.
I asked you if you read it, and I said it's a great book. Dark Disciple. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you said, is it a great book?
Oh, well.
Cheers.
Clean out your ears. Cheers.
I think one of the series needs to be that, right? Because they've had a lot of luck with the Clone Wars, then Rebels, then Bad Batch. Why not kind of continue that whole thing? And I don't see them doing much with the Rebels right now because now Ahsoka's in live action. So continue with Omega getting older. And then the other thing is, I think it would, if they were going to do anything with Luke or whatever, maybe pre-Mandoverse is do young Kylo.
Yeah, you could do a lot of stuff there.
Yeah.
There's plenty of stories I'm sure they could, I like that idea. We will see, but 2 series sounds great. I just really hope that one is far enough along that maybe we get it in the second half of 25, but that's probably being very optimistic. Yeah. Speaking of Richtman, and others, dropped some Ahsoka Season 2 tidbits. That guy Christian Harloff also was talking about this, and we're going to get into another wild bit that he shares later for something else. But the rumor here for Ahsoka Season 2 is that not only will Hayden Christensen return as Anakin, and Ariana Greenblatt will return as young Ahsoka, but also apparently Ewan McGregor is going to come back as Obi-Wan, which all speaks to a flashback to the Clone Wars, which goes in line with everything Ewan McGregor's been saying for months about wanting to put the armor on from the Clone Wars.
Right.
So it all is coming together. You would imagine that's what we're going to get.
Do you think it's the live action version of them going to fucking save Frumpy?
Well, that's supposed to be in the movie. Who's
I know,
Frumpy?
that's what I'm saying. Like
Rhoda?
Yeah, what if they just fucking, that's their go-to. Like everything
everything's tied to that story?
Yeah, they're trying to pigeonhole this fucking Rhoda the Hutt in every fucking thing. It's like Dave Filoni's one, like, oh, I fucked that up, so he's got to go back and like make
Is it that
better.
what it is? It's that they fucked it up, he wants to redo it and make it better? Or is it that he's just like obsessed with it? He's like, that story though, right? It was a pretty good story.
No, okay, we'll get to it in the other way. There's no fucking way it might be a small plot, but that is not the plot of the movie. There's no way.
Well, do you think it's got to just be a flashback to Clone Wars, right? It's not going to be a World Between Worlds thing. It's just going to be flashback scenes, yeah?
Yeah, I'm probably maybe more to the story of her leaving the Jedi Order.
Right.
Explaining all that. So if you're going to go back, they're 2 prominent characters at that time, so why not? And Ewan wants to come back as Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's going to do it. So if they're not going to do another Kenobi movie, and maybe this is like another backdoor thing, like, oh, this shit works, let's tell Kenobi's next story more of in this part of the story.
I think it almost feels like he is throwing it out there. I'm not getting any younger here, guys.
Right.
Let's make as much shit as we can now. And if you're going to do flashbacks, you're going to have to do some de-aging stuff and all that. So get on it, you know?
Yeah, but like less fog this time.
Less fog.
Yeah.
That fog machine was like a fucking 1980s video.
Yeah, early music video.
Okay. Yes. To the other story. Christian Harloff, he dropped a very interesting rumor about the plot of the Mandalorian and Grogu film. And I know you smell a rat.
Oh,
but let's go through this, what he claims. He said he's hearing that the plot will be a rescue mission for Din Djarin to get Rhoda the Hutt, because we know he's going to be in the movie, starring, what's his name? Who's the guy from the Bear?
Pedro Pascal?
No, the guy from the Bear is going to voice him. What's his name? Jeremy Allen White?
Jeremy Allen White, yeah.
Got it. It all came back.
And coming back.
So I'm thinking, okay, this fucking Hutt got kidnapped again? That we're going to do the same exact storyline?
I know.
And I mean, this is the exact plot of the 2008 Clone Wars movie that ended up turning into the first whatever.
And no one is bitching about this or picked up on this. Like everyone's like,
oh, I've seen a few people bitch about it.
Okay,
oh, yeah.
Good.
I've seen some people complain. It seems like you said. I think this is them trying to throw the scent off what they're really doing.
Right.
Obviously, I think the rumor of Rhoda being in it is probably true, but they're not a kidnapping again. There's no way.
Well, yeah, and if it's little, he's not even that age anymore. So if you got Jeremy Allen White voice in this thing, unless he's doing a fucking chipmunk voice, like this fella's grown up a bit, right?
Yeah, so now he's going to be a teenager who gets kidnapped.
Why are you kidnapping this guy again? What power? Who does he hold? What are the Hutts in this?
Well,
right now
I think there's some legitimacy there, because if you look into that and think about it more, he's the heir to Jabba, Rhoda.
Right, which means we're going to see Boba Fett.
Which means we would see Boba Fett, and we would also probably see those big fat twin Hutts that we saw in the book of Boba Fett.
Yeah, they want the house back.
So maybe, and to speak even more to that, Embo, my guy, my favorite bounty hunter, he is supposed to be the main villain. Now, I don't think that that's necessarily true. And I'm bringing him into live action is going to be very interesting.
Yeah, I was going to go back and watch those episodes, but I didn't have a moment. But I did see someone say by the end of the series, he had retired.
So my understanding is because some of this stuff kind of comes and goes in my mind.
I know.
So I haven't read all the stuff too. But, well, I sent you that clip. There's that clip of him. That's the one where he's snowboarding on his helmet.
His hat.
Yeah. His hat. And he's going after Anakin and Padme. And what's his butt? What's the guy that Clovis was with him?
Yes.
Also, that guy.
Was that the same episode where Ahsoka shows up and beheads everybody in the tent?
Oh God, right? I don't think so.
Oh, I think it's a different winter. They were on the mountain going down. I thought that was the same one.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. I think that's a different place. Those all blend together for me because there's so many damn episodes. But yeah, it's like Embo worked for the Hutts before, so sure he could have been hired by those two Hutts to go get Rhoda. Because they're like, we want to be the heirs to this throne. They're gonna have to knock off Boba Fett too.
Yeah.
So, but maybe that's just part of the overall plot. I don't know. I love Embo. I think it's gonna be really delicate to try to put that character into live action, especially given how agile and all that he is. Like, how do you make that live action? It's gonna be tough.
CGI.
It's CGI and get somebody who's got crazy body control and martial arts skills.
Have you seen what's the vampire movie with Jamie Foxx on Netflix?
Oh, I've not seen that.
Oh, it's actually pretty cool, but they got a bunch of contortionists.
That's a good idea.
So when they're like fighting them and they're shooting them, like all of a sudden half their body bends back or some shit, or they're like crawling like monsters, with their like in a crab like walk. Like they do some freaky shit with it, and because those people.
Is it all like Cirque du Soleil performers?
Yeah,
it should be.
They're all in fluorescent leotards.
So from that standpoint, you could make an argument that story would sort of make sense, but you're thinking this is all just a smokescreen, right? Like they're hiding the plot.
Yeah, and if anything, this is like you're cold open to be like, hey, look, or Mandalorian's back to bounty hunting. So we get an opening, but the Rod of the Hutt kidnapped again. That doesn't work for me. Like, and granted, not many people, even people who've watched Star Wars, they probably just forgotten that plot line, or
didn't know anything about it because they never saw it.
So why repurpose it though? It didn't work.
Well, and it's not that Star Wars is above repurposing some storylines. We know that.
That's true.
But still, that's a very specific plot line that it would be. It seems odd to recycle it.
Yeah.
Well, and another couple things. Embo, you know what his dog's name is? His wolf-like dog's name is? Merrick. Okay. Yeah. Well, now we got a character named Merrick in the Ahsoka Mandoverse era there. Well, he's dead now.
Well, you got to rename the dog now. Or maybe they just, it's 2 R's.
That's the distinction. I looked this up because I forgot when I was looking up the stuff on Embo. You know what his ship is called? The Guillotine. That's pretty fucking dope.
I like that.
Let's bring that ship into live action. I take that. I don't know. If you somehow wanted to incorporate a flashback scene of Embo going after Anakin and Padme, and all of a sudden Padme Amidala shows up on the screen, the theater would go fucking nuts.
I agree, but I mean, that has to be a strong plot line, right? You don't just bring Natalie Portman back to be like, oh, look it.
Yeah. Keep driving.
or what they do is they bring back, God damn it. I hate podcasting.
Oh, boy.
Pirates of the Caribbean. Elizabeth Swann.
Keira Knightley. Bring back Keira Knightley, but convince everyone it's Natalie Portman. even have Natalie Portman do the They're
press
not that different
tour.
in age. I mean, if you're looking at an age issue, they're basically the same age.
Right.
Oh, shit balls. Well, I think you're probably right. I think some of this is a smokescreen, but I don't know. I could see Embo being in it. I don't know that he'd be the main villain.
I think it'd be a cool character.
Well, some people were arguing, how could you make Embo the main villain? That makes the story feel smaller than it being some big, all-powerful character. Right. But I'm like, I don't mind if the story is sort of smaller in the sense that it's very focused versus having to tie into absolutely everything in that time frame.
I don't know. I might struggle with that because there's so many.
Even if the scale of the story is big, it just doesn't tie into all the huge things that are going on at that time. Like, it doesn't have to be
there's so many plot lines right now. Like, if they ignore those just to go on like a big mission.
Oh, it'll feel like a one-off.
Yeah, like if you're ignoring Grogu's past. You're
Filler
ignoring,
episode.
Yeah, and but then there was. Did you read? Was this part of the article? Did I send you the one? I think it was Dan Rackman again that said they're waiting to see how the movie does, whether they push the next set of movies or the Heir to the Empire stuff. I think is what it said, or they just go back to putting it into a TV show.
So they're going to continue it regardless. It's just a matter of is it big screen or small screen.
Where are they going to put it? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's fine. It all comes down to money in the end and how things do and sell and all that. I agree with that. But at the same time, it's like if every project you make is like, let's see how this goes, then we'll figure out if we're going to make another one.
Yeah.
That's a little bit of a bad model.
Right. And that, I think it was the same article. I don't remember if that was the one that said that it's back on the table for Mandalorian to go have a 4th season.
Oh, yeah. No, we talked about it on this show.
Yeah,
on this very show, Jay, we've talked about this.
Well, I just wanted to make sure it was out there. Not everyone listens to every episode.
True. That's a good point. Yes, season 4 allegedly in the works.
Yeah. Well, which this movie supposedly was kind of retooled and wrapped from some of the episodes or plot lines from the season 4. So
maybe Favs got done with it and they're like, you need to repurpose this into a movie because we're not going to do another season. So he did it. Now they're like, we should do another season. He's like, God damn it.
What do you want from me?
No shit.
He's like, I agreed to do 1 season and walk. I've been here for a decade.
Right. The funny thing is the whole shit's filmed. I mean, it's
right.
They'll do some follow-up stuff and whatever, not go backs, whatever they're called, reshoots. But shit, I mean, that story and that thing is kind of
it's
pretty far along.
The can. Right, yes. And we got a fucking year to wait.
Yep. Oh, well. All right. You ready for Skeleton Crew talk? Wrap this baby up. So what was your overall opinion of kind of how they landed the first season? Like, do you think they nailed it, or do you think?
I think overall they did a really damn good job with this show. I think my only complaint that's at the top of my head right now is the ending was a little too open.
It was very open.
It was like there was no resolution with anything.
When that music started to come up, I was like, no, you got to give us a little bit more. I was kind of pissed. But then I thought about it and I thought they want to leave all doors open to do whatever, depending on the reception of the show and what the powers that be decide. I looked at it as not a mind-blowing finale. Certainly a lot of fun action sequences and stuff like that.
It was really fun.
But it was very satisfying.
They had a lot of money into this last episode.
Yeah, they paid off a lot of stuff.
Yep.
Which was good. But then, like you said, they left a lot of stuff open, which I think is probably what you want to do. You want to leave people hanging with some things that they want to know about.
Which, and my complaint is we don't know for sure if there's a second season what's happening. So that's my only
if we knew there was a second season, you wouldn't feel as concerned about the fact that we have some leftovers.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned to you before about the consultant and how he watched the first 2 episodes of this show, and then he hasn't been watching with us at all since. So we're sitting there the other night, Tuesday night, watching this, and he's over at the kitchen table doing homework. I was like, we're going to watch the finale. You good with you're not going to know what the hell's going on if you start looking over here. And he goes, no, it's fine. I'm doing my homework. I was like, okay. All of a sudden, I didn't realize he's watching. We get to the end credits. He's like, that's pretty good. So for what that's worth.
Okay.
Okay. So we pick up where we left off, last episode, where Jod inexplicably ignited his saber in front of the parents and the kids. Turns out it was just for show. Just kind of to swing his dick around a little bit.
Look what I got.
Yeah. Farrah thanks him and asks if the kids are in trouble. And he's like, yeah, they're in trouble. Then he says they should be confined to their homes. House arrest for the kids. That's pretty tough. This whole thing with the emissary and how they're just bowing down to everything. You realize in the end that I guess it's because of the fact that they have not seen an emissary in 30 years or whatever. So they're thinking like, we better shape up.
But we've been making credits the whole time.
Right.
I'm glad you're here. We ran out of rooms.
There's an expression that I can't remember. My uncle used to say it, but I don't know if he said it this way or I saw it on a bumper sticker. But it was Jesus is coming. Look busy. That's kind of how I feel like they feel about this. They're like, oh shit, we better cater to every need this guy has. Because then he suggests Fern join him in going to meet the supervisor because he's like, I could tell she's going to spill the beans if I don't keep her close.
Yeah, she's loose lips are going to sink my pirate ships.
Absolutely. So then back at Wim's house after they've been put on house arrest, he and his dad are enjoying some lasagna.
Stouffer's, man. Just short of fucking dad leaning in going, hydrate level 4, please.
Is that or like a Hungry Man dinner? I don't know what the hell that thing was.
He calls it a home-cooked meal.
Yeah. I guess you could, is it home? And it was cooked there.
That's true.
There you go. It checks out.
Wim wants to fucking beat his dad with a stick.
Oh, yeah. Well, because this is very reminiscent of a lot of movies we saw back in the 80s where it's like the parents are kind of clueless.
Yeah.
They don't quite know what's going on. It's the kids
fucking
who know everything.
nails being a dad when he's looking out the window and Wim's like, I've had enough of you, and walks out and he's like, looks like the whole block is out. He's still talking.
He gets it together eventually, but you're right. He is so freaking clueless. So Wim's trying to explain to his dad, kind of on the sly, what the hell's going on. And of course, watching the safety droid, basically watching a tennis match.
Yeah, he was.
It was pretty funny. He tells him that there are people out there who would like to ruin At-Atten, is what he tells his dad. And Wendell kind of shrugs it off, and he's like, oh, well, that's what the supervisor's for. We're fine. So Wim, sighs, rolls his eyes, and goes upstairs. Later, he's trying to get Neil on the walkie-talkie and figure out what they should do next, but the safety droid walks in and catches him in the act. So he's like, no, I'm just playing with my action figures, man. What are you talking about?
He went dark helmet. No, sir, I did not catch you playing with your toys again, sir.
I forgot about that. Oh, man. So meanwhile, Jod, Farah, and Fern head up to the supervisor's tower, and they find that it's, kind of dusty and almost abandoned, unmanned room with a big spinning computer in the middle, and it turns out it's Hal from 2001.
Yeah.
And I was trying to figure out at first the color change in the eye. I think it's that every time it addressed Fern and Farah, people it knew, it would go blue, and when it would turn to Jod, it would go red.
Yeah.
Like it didn't trust him.
Because it found him as a threat.
Yeah, did you notice that?
Yep. And do you think there was a whole body underneath? And like that was just the spinning head they were seeing?
I don't think so, but I like that idea. Then he drops this Palps-esque line. I've been talking about Farah and Fern, I've been watching over you and your daughter with great interest, he says.
Yeah.
Supervisor. Like, that's a little creepy, big brother. Jod must be disgusted. He realizes, shit, you guys are like following the orders of a droid? Fucking hate droids. So he introduces himself as an emissary for the Republic and a Jedi.
Right.
Now Fern says it's a trick. She still is hanging to her belief. This guy's no Jedi. He doesn't have force powers. This is all bullshit. This is all smoke and mirrors act.
Yep.
The supervisor says, he drops his lie. He said he began to doubt if an emissary would ever visit the Mint again. So they haven't seen one coming up with this line in a second, and I guess about 30 years.
Right. Because of
the last communication they got. At least 30 years, maybe more.
Right.
So they've just been plugging along for decades, just making money and going, well, nobody's coming to get it.
So with that communication, was that like an open channel that Palp set out? Because that was
19.
I want to say it was the Order 66, but it wasn't. Yeah, it was. Okay.
Or it's the one he does where he announces the Galactic Empire.
That's the one. Yes.
I would think, which they're still talking about the Republic, but he announces the Galactic Empire and says the Jedi are traitors. That's when he announces that they're traitors. Order 66 was to the people to actually kill.
That was just to the troops. Right. So that was like an open line. Everyone got that communication. So shortly after they go down. So it was Pelp's channel sending things out. So what am I getting at? Like, how do they not get any more messages?
No
one else had any communication with them? Because they don't allude to anything that like the Empire even knew about this planet, right?
Right.
It just sort of was that time, the last time they heard from anybody. So how have they not picked up any other transmissions?
That's a great question. Because why wouldn't you pick up anything else? You would think you would have heard other stuff. A lot of stuff happened in those 30 years.
Yeah.
So why would they not have heard? I don't know. That's a tough one to explain. But yeah, essentially he's saying that the last message. Well, here, I'll get to that in a second because there's something Jod says first.
Okay.
It's funny though because when Jod explains to him, no, it is then that he says, what does he say? Oh, I guess it's just the fact that he says the emissary hasn't come. Jod basically is like, well, we've been really busy.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then that's when doesn't Farah asks why he didn't just come through. Oh, because he asked for his ship. He wants his ship to be allowed through the barrier. And she's like, well, why didn't your ship come through when you came through? And that's when he basically tells her, you need to obey, which is what every woman wants to hear, right?
From what I've heard, yes.
And the supervisor backs him up. He's like, absolutely, well said.
Yeah, listen to the emissary.
And he says, obedience is what has kept AT-AT running smoothly for generations. So yeah, this is where I thought it got really good because the supervisor says, I'll let your ship land. Just one little question.
Yeah.
And that's when he reveals the last message we got from the Republic was that Jedi are not to be trusted. They're traitors. So are you lying about being a Jedi or are you lying about being an emissary? And that's when Fern rats him out. She's like, he's wanting to invade the Mint.
Yep.
And Jod, immediately gets attacked. Supervisor goes, capture him. I knew it. Capture him, He starts deflecting these stun shots from the safety droids, and then he pulls a fucking Qui-Gon.
Man.
Just jams his saber right in the eye.
Yeah, you think the brain wouldn't be right behind the eye. I mean, that's a pretty big fucking head there. But
it's a little too vulnerable.
Yeah.
You are thinking, I guess, about the fact that the safety droids are there, and I guess he's banking on them taking out anybody who would even be that close to doing something. But this shuts everything down because he jams it in there, twists it around, shuts off everything. The entire city's power gets wiped out. And that's when I can't remember what Fern says, but that's when Jod turns and goes, why don't you bring mommy up to speed?
Yes.
He pops up. He's trying to figure out, okay, how do I get the ship in here? He pops up the barrier override. And Farrah's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. If you do that, it's going to completely destroy the barrier. We will never be able to turn it back on again. You can't do that. She's like, I can do something else. Fern's like, don't, you can't let him in. She's like, trust me.
Now, did you believe Jod at this point when he said, look, I don't want to hurt you guys or this planet, or I'm just here to get the money and I'll be gone?
I didn't believe that he would be gone, but I believe correct. But I think he doesn't want to make a mess of the place. I think he sees what's going on there and he's like, this operation's fantastic. I just want to be the head of it. Don't you think?
Yeah. Yeah. Like I got like what he says is pretty true because he even when he threats, he won't go as far as hurting anybody, the kids, the parents. He'll hurt pirates. He'll live by the pirate code. He'll do that shit. But like real people or their way of life, he just stops short of ruining. Yeah,
I think there's some empathy in him toward the average Joe.
Yeah. He's got some morality for that still.
Yeah, so he doesn't want to hurt people that don't deserve it. He certainly has a tie to the kids as much as he wouldn't want to admit it, and so that's why his bond with them is even stronger. So he really doesn't want to hurt any of them or see them get hurt. But he's like, okay, if you want to do some other way to get my ship in here, I'm cool with it. That's fine with me. And that's when he threatens. Well, how does I'm trying to think how that works because I don't remember in my notes. Why does he put the saber up to Fern's throat? Is it before Farrah agrees to find a way to get the ship through? Because all of a sudden he puts his saber up to her throat.
I think that's when they were first talking about going for the switch, and they were because at one point he goes, "Will you two stop scheming?"
Well, that's later. Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Oh, okay, that's the part I'm talking about.
Yeah. Then, so anyway, so whatever they do, whatever Farrah does, she enables him to send a hollow message to Gunter. And he's like, let the invasion begin.
Right.
That's when we flash back to Wim because he's now the power's out. And he races downstairs. His dad, like you said, is poking around. Why the fucking everybody in the block's power's out?
What do you think the point of the invasion was, though? Why, like, they were there for the money. Was it to get them to load the ship? The citizens as the workers? Like what?
You would think that having got to the supervisor room, weren't you now in charge of everything? I guess you shut everything off though. Now you don't have the safety droids unless you figure out how to reenact that.
Sure.
How to bring them back.
Yeah.
But it does seem like overkill a little bit, doesn't it? Like, did you really need to have this dramatic?
You want to put the fear in everybody, yeah.
I guess. Maybe that's how loose the plan is. He's just like, fuck it, come in. I need the ship to come. He needs the ship to come in anyway to load up all the gold.
That's what I'm thinking.
But you're right. But why not just fly in, get the gold, and get the fuck out? I don't know.
Right. Well, the droids were shut down, so I'm thinking he'd use the adults as manpower.
That's a good point. He did say he was going to put them to work. He needed them to. Yeah, that's a good point. So then Wim explains he finally tells his dad because he knocks that droid over. He's like, look, the droids are doing nothing. They're all out of. It's pretty funny. Then he explains, like, he's the bad guy. Like, he was out to get us. So can I catch you up here, Dad? Because you can't figure this shit out. And just then we see the pirate frigate come flying down to the surface as Wim and Wendell watch. And
a great shot.
Neil taking another bubble bath.
Yeah, that boy lives in the bathtub.
Bubble bath. The pirate ship flying down reminded me of Close Encounters and the all of everybody. this big thing coming out of the clouds. It was a very cool fucking shot.
Mm-hmm.
I saw some of the visuals in this episode were really good again. But you're thinking, okay, fine. They're going to just come down. They're going to, park by the damn mint and start loading up. No, they just start opening fire. That's the part I didn't understand. Yeah. Why are you shooting at people?
Right.
I guess it's just the intimidation of wanting to take control of the place, but
that's what they do, right? That's what pirates do. When they go into the town, shoot their cannons, go off on everybody, put fear into the citizens.
It's unnecessary.
I guess this makes sense.
It's unnecessary.
I agree.
Dicks.
We live in peaceful times. We don't understand this.
We don't understand it. Wendell's trying to get his car started. It won't start. And that's when Neil and KB ride up in their hover bikes, which still work. And they just, they're like, hey, we got this plan. We're going to get to the Onyx Cinder, going to go up into space, past the barrier, call the Owl Kitty, Kim, so she can send the X-Wings. And all that sounds like a great plan to Wim. So they leave, and we get this little Goonies-like scene where Wendell goes running out, and he's got to steal somebody's bike. So that is, what's his name? Bonj Falfa, right? The guy that was racing. Yeah. At first, I didn't realize that. I was like, who the hell's that guy?
Yeah, it's the kid who wanted to race at the first episode.
Right.
Who's named after Harrison Ford's character.
Yeah, from American Graffiti. Yeah.
Yep.
So the pirates come flooding down to the surface in their little skiffs, kind of like we saw in Return of the Jedi, like around Jabba's barge, kind of those kind of things. And they're rounding up people, because they say they work for us now, making credits. Arg. And and why the fuck do you feel the need to knock down a poor elderly Ithorian? I mean, come on.
I know. That's
rude.
Great shot of the one Ithorian and their, what is that frog dog thing?
Yeah.
He's like,
So the kids at Wendell get cut off by Vane. Vane's back. Well, I mean, he was around, but this is why they brought him back to the series, I guess.
You need to have him, I guess.
So they have to bust through and take the shortcut that we saw in the first episode, go through the forest, and make a big jump over that canyon where the cinder was. And Wendell just goes fucking crazy.
He loved it.
We just love it. He's finally busted out of his shell a little bit. Pirates keep pursuing him as they head for the ship. And that's when Neil gets blown off of his bike. And he's like, go ahead. I got to provide cover for you to get off the planet anyway. Right. And that's when he's going to find that cannon. Wendell, Wim, and KB make it to the ship, but they can't take off because of these clamps, which we talked about last episode. It was like...
It's locked down.
Yeah, locked down.
No power.
You need the power to release them. So they realize they got to go to the supervisor's tower to fix the problem. And that's when Wim asks Wendell, can you do that? And he's like, son, you're talking to a level 7 systems coordinator. That's one of the best lines of the episode.
When is that shirt going to be out? Someone's already made it.
Oh, it should be out there. Oh, man, that was pretty fucking funny. So Wendell and Wim head to the tower on that bike. And Neil goes to the roof, and he finds the turbo laser, just like on Akron. Back at the tower, Jod's telling Kona, because he's got a little holo going with Kona, the gal who's one of the pirates, don't hurt the citizens. We need them to work. But again, like you said before, I think deep down, he's like, I don't want to hurt people here. I just want them to do what I fucking want them to do.
I just want my goddamn money and I'll go.
Right. So Fern tells Farrah about what she saw out in the galaxy. That essentially, because Farrah's doing this whole like, we have this thing in place to protect you. We're not exposing you to the scary outside world. This is very like analogous to being a parent and wanting to protect your child from the dangers of society, but you have to let them out there.
You want to put your kid in a bubble.
Exactly. Right. Yep. And that's kind of what she was getting at. But Fern's explained to her, look, there's some bad shit out there, but everywhere we went, we found good people too.
Yeah.
So it's not all bad. Now this prompted my biggest laugh of the night, because when Fern says, everywhere we went, even the darkest places, there were good people too who wanted to help us. And my younger son whispers, like the stripper.
Yes.
And I was like, son, I don't think she was a stripper. She was just the door woman for that club. But
right.
Thanks. Like the stripper. The stripper with a heart of gold.
She was good people.
I love that. Fern tells Farrah, you cause a distraction and I'll try to get a gun from one of the droids, which is, hey, it's a plan.
Sure. It's all they got right now.
And she's going to try to stun Jod. That's when you get that shot you talked about where he shoots right in between them and says, stop scheming over there. And that's when he gets on the PA and announces to everyone, you cooperate, you won't be harmed. You don't cooperate, you'll be harmed. Mm-hmm. And then he says, you all work for me now, with this sinister chuckle. So Wendell and Wim race the tower with the pirates following him, trying to blow him up. This is where Wendell really steps up.
Yes.
He's pretty good on the hoverbike.
Yeah.
he goes underneath the little bridges and stuff so that he kind of, protect himself a little bit from the blaster fire and all that. And they make it to the tower. And then Wim tries to do this bluff, which I thought was great, where he's telling Jod, well, I called the X-Wings. He's got his walkie-talkie. Yeah. Called the X-Wings.
And an army of Jedis are coming.
And he says he was able to send the message out because he found the crystal of the founders. Just making shit up. Kid with an imagination. I like it. It was guarded by an ancient warmer in the northern mountains. And I love Jod just listening to it going like, it's pretty good. It's not true. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
But that's when Jod says, the Jedi are all dead. And that's when Fern jumps in and says, it's all, but that was all a trick that they did. They really wanted to lure him and trap him here. Yep. This is all just to distract him because Wendell's sneaking around the backside to turn the power on.
He went fucking full Splinter Cell.
Right, exactly. Oh man, those what do they call it? Stealth mode missions where you have to constantly sneak behind before somebody gets. Oh, there's a guy coming.
Hide in the shadow.
Those things like make my palms sweat doing those particular missions. Wendell turns the power on. Jod realizes it, goes after him. He's like, oh, you brought your dad. Mm. I love that. You brought your dad. Starts laughing. Fern is trying to use this distraction to go get the gun from the droid, and Jod shoots the droid and the gun out of her hands. And again, not to give him credit, but he's clearly not trying to shoot people. He is trying to prevent them from doing things to ruin his plan, but he doesn't want to hurt anybody.
Stop pissing him off. He just wants some money.
He could have killed any of these people at any point and made his job a lot easier.
Yeah, definitely.
But he couldn't bring himself to do it. With the power on, the clamps come off the ship. I like how KB goes, can't believe that worked.
I know.
She takes off, but she's got help because she has re-enabled Smee, but she's got to hold his head up while he pilots the ship.
That's awesome.
Oh, fucking great. As the frigate goes to shoot her out of the sky, that's when Neo comes up huge. Fucking gets the turbo laser, blasts that cannon, smashes them, immediately realizes, because the spotlight turns on. He's like, I gotta get out of here.
He gets that die-hard fucking jump from the explosion.
Right. The late realization. Ooh. Yeah. So he gets out of there just before they destroy the laser. KB and Smee make it past the barrier, send the word to Kim, and she said, I'll contact the New Republic. They'll be there in 2 flaps.
Yeah.
KB gets cut off as she's trying to tell Kim, they're going to have to go through the barrier.
Find a way through the barrier. Yep.
Find a way through the barrier. But she's shot by this pirate ship. Now, how does that work? Because the frigate was allowed to come through. Everybody who was on that frigate that then flew out in a separate ship was also allowed to go through the barrier because they came up through the barrier and shot her. I was thinking it was one of the pirate ships were shooting at her. Yes, but were all the pirate ships were covered under the... How are they allowed to come through, but X-Wings wouldn't be allowed to come through? Like, what's the distinction? It's a nitpick. I just didn't understand how that was supposed to work. What did Farah do to allow them to come through?
Gave that ship clearance, probably.
But then other ships wouldn't. But those other ships were like inside the frigate at the time. Anyway, it's a nitpick. It's a dumb nitpick. So KB and Smee go hurtling down to the surface. You get a real sad scene where they're all watching it, and Jod's like, what have you done? You basically killed your friend. And he looks worried. He looks very worried. He gets pissed off. Did you think he was going to go full fucking Vader and just reach out to that ship? Oh, I didn't think about that. I was like, well, I don't think he's got that kind of power. I didn't think so either, but I was like, that just popped in my head. I was like, oh shit, because I got that feeling like he looked real worried. He was so mad when it happened. He was like, you did this. You guys killed your friend. You did this, right? Yep. And I think he even says, I didn't want anyone to get hurt, something like that. Mm-hmm. Fern tries to go for the barrier override switch, but he shoots at her, just enough to make her go down. Again, not trying to kill her. When Wim goes for it, he holds a saber to Wendell's neck and threatens Wim. Like, I'll cut your dad's head off if you don't fucking pick one or the other. Switch. Mm-hmm. Sorry, Dad. Yeah, sorry, Dad. It's for the good of the whole. Yeah. You understand. I'll follow in your footsteps and become a level 7 coordinator. I'll avenge you. When Wim tells Jod with tears in his eyes, you're no Jedi, you lied. That's when Jod kind of gives us a little taste of his past and why he's so disenchanted. Right. He says when he was a kid, he was starving, living in a hole in the ground, and a Jedi found him and told him he had potential. And he described the Jedi as desperate and ragged like him. So it makes you think that Order 66 had happened and this Jedi was on the run. Right. And, so almost like a Kanan Ezra situation. Right, because he goes on to say that person was hunted and then he was forced to watch. They made him watch her get killed, yes. Right. Correct. More on who that might be when we do the look back, because there was that thing you sent me about the IMDb casting and all that stuff. Let's get into that more when we get to do our look back later. He says she taught me some Jedi tricks before, but like he's only partially trained. He's not obviously a Jedi. And so he starts telling Wim, he's like, look, the galaxy is a fucking terrible place, just so you know. But there's these little pinpricks of light, and that I'll do anything I have to do to get those bits of light in my life because the world is such a horrible place. Wim lets go of the override switch, goes and runs to his dad. And then Jod goes on about, not wanting to hurt anyone, just wanting the planet to go back to what it was, just with him in charge. I just want to be the leader. That's it. So not the most noble thing, but at least he's not, wanting to murder people. And then we see Wendell's nerves start to bubble up, and I'm like, oh, it's George McFly.
Yes.
He's going to knock Biff out. One punch. Unfortunately, he does knock the saber out of his hand and knock him over, but does not knock him out like George McFly. It sends the saber flying, and then Jod's holding Wendell back from flipping the switch. Wim picks up the saber, and Jod tries to pull the saber back with the force. Now, when he was doing this, and then Fern's helping him hold it, and he's trying to pull, I was queuing up my line of, told ya, because I thought he was going to pull the kids with the saber and it was accidentally going to ignite, or Wim was going to ignite it right as it got to him and go right into Jod.
Oh, right.
So I was like, they're going to kill him.
Yeah.
Does not happen that way. So I didn't tell you. But finally, Farrah finally does something. I mean, she's just been kind of sitting there like afraid to act. And finally, she goes over and helps Wendell pull the lever down. Did you see how when he was force pulling Wendell's hand back, it was like breaking his knuckles?
I thought his fingers were going to break back.
Oh.
Yeah.
That was kind of disgusting. Pulled it down, barrier gets wiped out, skies open up, you can see the stars above. Then Wim ignites his saber, right side up this time.
He learned.
Important, because the way he was holding it, it would have gone right through his leg.
Didn't he even kind of give it a look like, okay, yeah, I got it the right way this time?
Did he? Oh, I didn't know. He might have. He should have. And then Jod tosses his blaster. Again, Jod could have shot him right between the eyes if he wanted.
Right. That was an interesting thing where he was just like, all right.
Yeah, you got me. I'm not gonna kill a kid just to try to win this particular battle.
Right.
Here come the X-Wings, and they just fucking lay waste to the pirate ships.
Man.
Among the pilots, we saw one of the guys that would look like he was in The Force Awakens, right? The one guy says, he's
got like the long alien face.
Yeah. I don't know if that's the same guy, but it looked like that guy. And then one of the cool things we saw is one of those B-Wings, I think they were called B-Wings, right? That we saw in Rebels, that Hera piloted.
Yep, and it had the early ion cannon type thing, right?
Whatever that was.
Four lasers form and they all,
and it just cuts right through the top of the ship.
Right.
The AT-AT citizens are just rejoicing on the ground. They're thrilled. Little they know that thing's about to fucking blow up about 4 city blocks as it goes down. Oops.
And then lay down in the river.
Right.
There goes your good water supply.
That's going to be a lot of work to clean that up.
Man.
So Wendell, Wim, Fern, and Farrah head to the elevator to go find KB, and Wim gives a final shout, to Jod. Do you think that was kind of like a bygones come with us kind of thing, or what? What do you think?
It's kind of what I took it as, like, because it was almost like, come with us, don't stay here and die. But like, he stays, so what happens to him? Yeah,
there's a whole nother story.
Right.
And just to wrap it up real quick, Jod walks over to the window. He's watching the frigate like going down in flames, and there's two things here. One, the shot from behind looked like the end scene in Fight Club, where Edward Norton.
Yeah, where they're looking at the skyscrapers crumble or something. Yeah.
It looked just like that.
Yeah.
The other thing is just he looks a bit despondent at first, and then he kind of sort of gets this smirk. Is that because he's kind of thinking, well, fucking good on them for making that happen and bringing this shit down? Or is it, I got another plan? Or is it, I'm so glad to be released from having to deal with those fucking lot of pirates anymore, and I have a new blank slate?
It might be a little bit of all of it, right?
Yeah.
Because he's really hard to read, like what he really wants.
It was a notable smirk at the end. Like he was kind of like he had something in mind.
Yeah, like it's not over yet.
Yeah, I don't know if it was tip of the cap to you guys kind of thing, or if it was more like, I got another idea here, which would be your season 2, right? Potential start. So, yeah, the frigate goes down, wipes out some city blocks, and then Gunter refusing to leave. He's going to go down with the ship, and he does.
He does. He's like, where are you going? Like, what do you mean?
he go. Finally, the kids and the parents make it over where KB crashed, and she falls out of the ship along with his pile of credits and asks, did we win?
Yeah.
Which was cute. And then Smee comes walking out holding his head in his arms. And then Fern says that Wim doesn't have to take his. He's like, hey, she goes, hey, you don't have to take your assessment anymore. And he's like, fucking, that's right. And then but he's looking up and thinking, I think you're thinking, oh, he wants to go be like an X-Wing pilot or something now. Like he's in awe of what the New Republic looks like.
He wants that adventure.
I think he does. And he sees the whatever those things are, those blockade runners or corvettes or whatever they're called.
The Corvette that comes in at the end. Yeah, like Leia's ship. Right.
Yes, right. Just like that. That's when, I mean, you've already touched on this. I put a note in here that said, how'd you feel about them ending it there? Because we don't know Jod's fate. We don't know what's going to happen with him next. I certainly thought when that ship came in, oh, we're going to see who's on the ship. Somebody's going to be on the ship.
Right.
There were a lot of things there that you thought might get the little aftermath kind of follow-up end scene to send us home with. And clearly, like we talked about, they wanted to leave it so wide open. It makes you think stuff was filmed and they cut it a little bit, doesn't it?
Yes.
Like they saved it.
Yes. Yeah. Like why bring in that ship if there's not anyone on it, or there not even like you got no resolution for like the citizens or what's going to happen to the planet, or you know we've been looking for this planet for a long time or anything.
Yeah.
And the last shot we see is just Jod up there watching the ship go down and the kids leaving the elevator. So we don't know what he's doing. Like, is he going to be arrested? Does he escape? Like, nothing.
And what's going to happen with that planet and the fact that it's got $8 gazillion?
Right.
Now the New Republic has control
but I was
of it,
thinking about this. You know, money is worth money because you say it's worth money, right? So who says that's worth something now?
True, especially since it's old money.
Yeah, because you usually, well, I guess because that is the mint, that makes it worth, because they're still using gold, so it's not like paper money.
Right.
So yeah, I guess that I've answered my own question.
You have, but there's still a lot of questions to be answered.
Yes.
You could take the story in a lot of different directions based on that. And that, like I said, I think there's something valuable in that they left it that way. You got resolution on a lot of things you wanted to know, like why is Jod the way he is?
Mm-hmm.
You know, the kids get home and find their parents. The pirates are dealt with. Like all these things paid off.
Sure.
So you got to leave some stuff.
Yeah.
For next, and I think they did a good job of that. They clearly have an eye on season 2, and are hoping Disney's going to be like, or Lucasfilm's going to be like, we should probably greenlight this. At least let them do another season. I mean, kind of getting into the what's next. I think we can do a lot of this in our look back. So I don't want to go too deep onto it, but I do want to talk about just the season 2 prospect here.
Okay.
Do we think we're going to get it? Do you want to do your rant based on the tweet you saw and flagged for me earlier this week? About why about it was from our good friend Star Wars Theory, about why the poor reception, it essentially is.
Oh yeah, because he was alluding that the only reason no one's watching the show is because Acolyte shit the bed.
Right. And so he's making the argument kind of like how Solo was marketed. Well, Solo was marketed poorly, but also it was on the aftermath of The Last Jedi, which was a bit of a divisive film for people. So it suffered accordingly. Mm-hmm. Is that why Skeleton Crew is not getting views? Because The Acolyte was a divisive show for a lot of the fandom. I
think there's probably truth in that the people who didn't like Acolyte, there were probably some people that were turned off. I think more than likely it's the fact that the show is skewed toward a younger audience.
Yeah.
So again, sure. you're getting people who want to watch a show. I bet you more people watch this that are into the animation than Ahsoka or something else, or even the Acolyte. So you're getting a different viewership that's involved. Like there's a lot of adults. I think that if adults watch this, most likely it was a large group of adults who had kids who could feel that nostalgic feel that we had talked about a week or two ago, where like I wondered if the kids picked up on that like we did.
Well, that's why I think it works on 2 levels, because it works for somebody who's watching it with their kids because it has all the wonderment of stuff like that. But also you harken back to your own childhood. So it can land with adults like that. If you're a more cynical adult, perhaps it does not land because you're thinking, oh, this is silly. And they've got goofy lines in here like claimsies and shit. And what this isn't my Star Wars kind of thing. I can see where that could happen. But
I think
the reviews are all great. And
there's a lot of fucking adults who seem to lose like that innocence, that hate like this younger stuff, right? Like they forget, like when they fell in love with it, they were the kid and it was made for them. Star Wars is still made for kids, and the adults who can't get past that, like this needs to be my thing.
Right. And also I think you could look at the last, I mean, I'm going to pick a wrong number here, but let's just say the last 10 to 15 years, 20 years even, of especially TV shows, it's just gotten darker and darker. And to the point where people, I think, maybe don't take a show seriously if it doesn't have those dark elements. Now, Skeleton Crew had some dark elements to it, but there was always the wonderment of the kids to keep it kind of flowing, keep some positivity, and to take a little bit of the edge off the danger. Kind of feeling like I don't think they're gonna kill a kid in this episode, in this show and stuff like that. But I think people have become accustomed to everything being so dark.
Oh yeah, everything's become the anti-hero.
Right. So now maybe that's a turnoff to people. They don't have. It's not like going to watch a movie in the 80s or 90s where you were just going to root for the hero. You know, people want to see the bad shit happen too because that's real. That's reality.
Also, everyone seems to be, because I went back and looked at this because at first my argument was for the series as a whole. And the argument was like, haha, it didn't get that many views for the first 2 episodes. What is it, the premiere week or whatever? They were comparing it to everything else.
Yes.
Well, this was launched just after Thanksgiving. Most of the show has played over Christmas break. 2 episodes came out over holidays.
Oh, so when they do those numbers, you think they're going to go up?
Yeah, I think this is very much a show, like if Disney's smart, they'll look at and watch and see if there's a level of growth where now it's all out. Do people go back and watch it? Like, what are there rewatches? Like, what do they feel like? Because it doesn't necessarily, there's plenty of things out there that didn't have that opening weekend. Like, look at, it comes to mind, Austin Powers was almost considered a failure theatrically. But when it hit DVD, it made like twice the amount. It was like 50 million, I think it made in theaters. It made that the first week on DVD and doubled it in a week or two. The first month, I don't know what it was, but it made so much money. They're like, oh, we need to make another one of these. We need to make it quick. Like, this is a cash grab. Like, there's plenty of something that wasn't an IP that became an IP. But I think being a younger audience, the holidays, the time of year that they put it out, people are fucking busy with Christmas shopping and all that. The California fires, like you've got half the, New York and LA are two of the biggest regions in the world, and you got nobody in California watching this fucking show right now.
They're a little busy.
Yeah. The ones who made it, they're like, well, I'll watch it when I get around to it, and everyone else is like, I'm fucking running from my home right now.
Yeah, I mean, but to your Austin Powers thought, that was during a time where there wasn't as much competition, and obviously the DVD thing's different. But like even looking at a streaming standpoint, there's so many fucking shows out there.
Yes.
So it's hard to break through. So if you at some point thought, okay, well, I didn't particularly care for that last Star Wars series, I've got all these other seasons that have dropped of something else, they just might not have gotten around to it, And so that's why I think you're going to have to look at this show over the first 6 months it's been available or something like that to say, you know what, people eventually watched it and they liked it versus did everybody immediately, it was the water cooler talk about the Skeleton Crew and it was the first, 2 days of it being out, the big deal. Because I just don't think that's the case.
Well, and like, who says you have to be in the top 10 in order to have another season? Look at how many shows didn't even find an audience until like its 2nd or 3rd season. Yeah. X-Files was on the chopping block for years. They moved it like I think X-Files might have aired on every night almost over like the first 2 years.
They just don't have the patience.
Yeah, well, that's true now. But I mean, even back then, like, what was the show? There was a really big comedy show a few years back, and the only reason it got another season was because the president of NBC liked the show.
Oh, really?
And it ended up becoming a hit. I can't. Yeah. It was like Community or.
Well, Community had a whole rough and tumble run where it got great ratings. People loved the show, but I think the companies that were broadcasting and stuff, they couldn't see the draw. They couldn't figure out why it was, why there was any value to it. It was expensive as shit to make. So I don't know. I think obviously money's going to play a big role in all this stuff, but it's hard to have an instant success. Especially with a new show that does not have a bunch of familiar characters.
Right, that's the thing. It's like, exactly. Like, if Disney's going to keep making this stuff, and I've probably preached this a million times already, but if they're going to try and go a little further out from the Skywalker thing or create a different story or skew a younger audience, they have to have that in mind. Like, you're not going to have the fucking full potential force of the Star Wars viewing audience when you're niched down or skewed to a particular group. Like, keep that in mind. And I hope they do. Like, this show is really good. It's I think this has potential growth. They did a lot of things right. There's no reason why they shouldn't do another one.
I agree.
And it wasn't even as expensive as The Acolyte. So
I mean, it certainly wasn't cheap, but it wasn't as bad. And I don't know. it seems like it'll be a miss to not get it. The thing is, if it doesn't come back, we won't know for months and months and months because they're not going to come out and say it.
You will know for sure. Most like if they announce a second season at Celebration, it's coming. Otherwise, they're just going to let it die in the weeds.
I think so. I think that's the money point. Is if you don't hear any mention at all at Celebration, that's an oh boy moment.
Mm-hmm.
And there was an interview. We'll get into the Entertainment Weekly interview with Watson Ford, but it's Ford, right? Watson Ford?
Yes.
Okay.
It's Christopher Ford, I believe.
Yeah, Christopher Ford. It just sounded weird for some reason. We'll get into that when we do our look back, but because there's some other quotes in there. But even in an interview prior to that, just before this finale, you got the dreaded "never say never" line. I'm like, oh boy.
Right.
Never say never is not a good quote. Who knows? Maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, well, great finale. Enjoyed it. Let's move on to the Maul Bag. This first email came in late for last week's recording, so it's going to be obvious. Max Rebo says, I hope you had a satisfactory Russian Christmas.
Okay.
Sorry for the delay in writing this. I'd like to say I've been busy, but I just forgot. Although he said something on Twitter about how he wasn't seeing our tweets. For
Yeah.
So.
His algorithm got messed up.
Something's wrong. Thanks, Elon. He's against us, too. What a refreshing heel turn for a Star Wars show. In a universe where good-looking mass murderers are redeemed on the regular, it's a pirate who threatened to do terrible things that is the unredeemable one. I've watched episode 6 several times now, and the scene with Wim and KB may be the most amazing acting in a Star Wars ever. Not that that's an extremely high bar, but still. Episode 7 being a little bit of a letdown is to be expected after 2 episodes on La Nupa at a slower pace. This one seemed really rushed. Why couldn't they add 15 minutes to the episode and let it breathe a little bit? At this point, I'm just picking nits. I think a sign of a great show is when you cannot wait for the next episode, but you dread it because it'll be over, and that's what my family is feeling right now.
Yeah.
Well done, Disney. I think it's a fair shout about episode feeling a little bit rushed. I think it was a little bit. I still enjoyed the episode, but they certainly could have let some certain bits play out a little bit longer.
I think the ending was rushed.
Yeah. Right. I'm on board with him on that front. I just think you could have built a little bit more tension there. Then he sent another email. This one's a little bit more timely. I hope you had a satisfactory NFL wildcard weekend. I did.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I did too.
My Rams knocked off the Vikings, and they will now play
Whoop
the
their
Eagles.
asses.
They did. And if the Rams win, they could end up playing your Lions.
I know.
That'll be fun.
I'm looking forward to that again. I don't know if Everett is, but
because you've always been a Lions fan, yeah?
Yeah, oh yeah.
And isn't Cole a Packers fan?
Yes, huge Packers fan.
What the fuck's up with that?
Yeah, I think maybe because the Lions sucked so many years, like he got that was in the conference, and then he just became a huge fan of them.
All right. That's how, this is Max Rebo. That's how you do a finale. From the computer supervisor to Chekhov's cannon being canon, it was an enjoyable evening. No doubt there. They certainly had things they set up early in the season that they paid off in the end. The cannon, the fucking whole ship exploder thing. That's not the way you say that, but
the whole ship?
The thing that blew up the hull on the Onyx Cinder. They teased that.
Oh, right. Yeah, never touch that button.
Yeah. My 11-year-old daughter thought KB was dead, and I let her think that, so the reveal later that she was okay was a bigger payoff to her. I like to think about him just like...
So what, did he already watch it, and then he's like...
No, I think he just realized there's no way she's
There's no way
die.
she's dead, yeah.
But I just like the idea of his daughter turning and being like, is she dead? He's like, oh, she's gone.
This is an important growing up moment for my child.
Tears streaming down her face. Tough love. I'm sure this leads to questions about freedom versus security, but I wonder if, in the long run, the residents of At-Atten wouldn't have been better off letting Jod be their boss and carry on under the banner. I'm going to go with no.
No.
Did you see the pirates handling the citizens?
Right.
You think that was going to be good for them? I don't think
so. They were kind of, it was just a different type of, like, they were clueless to the type of how they were being ruled before, with the safety and all that. This was, violence, like in your face. Like, they weren't better off. I
don't think they were better off. And I mean, yes, you're exposed to the galaxy now, but I don't know, man. I don't think so. I'm sure you already discussed your opinions, but I hope we get to see a second season with these kids in a franchise not known for great acting. He said it again. They did a fantastic job. He's really down on the acting. Now, I know Lucas has been knocked in the past for certain clunky dialogue, and
sure,
maybe we've had a few wooden performances here and there, but I'm wondering, like, what would you say are the good performances then, Max, other than this show, like Andor and other stuff, or like what?
I'd say it's a series known to have some bad acting.
Sure.
but there's been some great actors who pulled off some really great stuff with it. So
I think so.
Yeah, I think there's more good than there's been bad. Just the bad has been, you could see it.
Sometimes pretty bad.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Max. And then now we've got a voicemail from Ro from the Scarif Scuttlebutt podcast. This is a okay stop. So stop me whenever you want. Ready, go.
Hey, what's up, gents? This is your friendly neighborhood Ro from the Scarif podcast. I had a question for you guys based on your latest post. I wanted to get your take. The Skeleton Crew is coming to an end. For us, it has been.
He sent it in before, just so you know. I forgot to tell you that.
He sent what in?
He sent this voicemail in before the finale.
Oh, okay.
A very fantastic run. We have been very surprised at how much we are enjoying or have enjoyed the series up until now. We are a couple of days out from the finale.
I want to know. No, I don't listen to every episode, so maybe I'm missing something with them. But like, he's been in Star Wars his whole life, right? He still watches it. You can like and dislike parts of it. I'm fine with that. But like, why are you surprised? Why are you still in it if you're surprised you liked it?
My guess is he did not like The Acolyte, and he saw a kids show coming and thought, oh boy.
Oh, he also doesn't like the sequels at all.
And he hates kids.
Right. Yeah.
Not kidding.
A real Chicago person.
He doesn't like The Last Jedi. I think he liked The Force Awakens. I don't know how he felt about Rise of Skywalker. He hated The Last Jedi.
Yes, he hated that. And I don't think he liked the Skywalker either.
Possibly not, but
right.
I know he did not like The Acolyte very much either. So I think that's maybe where it comes from, is that he was...
So he doesn't like women. I got you.
Women and children.
Yeah.
The final episode. And I wanted to ask you guys, Star Wars has really leaned into the found family trope. And for good or bad, we have many examples in current Star Wars of this leaning. Jude Law's character started out, kind of questionable. We get a little bit of warmth from his character by teaming up with the kids and taking care of them, et cetera, et cetera. But we get a bit of a flip-flop through the series where he's good, he's bad, he's questionable. We're unsure as to what his real motives are. And now, as the cliffhanger showed us, the 7th episode, I think it almost looks like he's going to go Anakin on the family as they are reunited.
Don't worry, he won't. He won't. He's
yeah,
not gonna
spoiler
go
alert, Ro. If Ro wrote this, he would have decapitated all of them right then and there at the beginning of this episode.
And the women and the children.
Yeah. Not the droid.
But that's a good sign, though, that you don't know Jod's motivations and where he's headed.
I think it was an excellently written character.
Yeah.
Because they kind of give you like, oh, he's not a good guy from the beginning. And going in as a Star Wars fan, you're like, okay, where's the redemption? Where's the redemption? There's got to be a redemption. We even talked about it. And there is none. Like, he's just, he's not an evil guy. He's just a selfish bad guy.
Right. He's going to get into that.
I'm wondering, for a show that has been touted as Goonies in space, a kid's show, family viewing, et cetera, do we feel that they are going to leave Jod in that bad guy space? Or do you think that, I'm going to use the R word here.
Don't worry, I'll blurt it out when he uses the R word.
In a minute, do you guys feel like they're going to throw a redemption arc in the last episode to make everything all hunky-dory? I'd love to,
I should have beeped it anyway.
Was he saying Jod was going to go full Goonies sloth?
I think he might have.
Okay.
I thought it would have been funny.
That R word?
It would have been funny if I bleeped out redemption.
Yeah.
Is he going to go full beep? Oh, what did he say?
You should have.
And we'll see you guys on the flip side. Take care. Remember, it's always sunny on Scarif and at the FACPA. That's kind of a funny thing. Anyways, talk to you guys soon. Looking forward to hearing.
Was that him like refusing to say another podcast name?
I don't know if it was that or if he just failed to stick the landing on his own voicemail. But thank you, Ro, for leaving that. Yeah. We appreciate it.
It's always sunny, especially that last day.
Well, that's it. That's all we have for this week.
Thank you for calling in, Ro. Love giving you shit. I like that dude. So I hope he always takes it as we're just giving him shit.
I know he does.
Okay, good. So that's it. Thank you for listening. Until next time.
Laugh it up, fuzzballs.
We have